This whole global thing is this powder keg right now that could cause a significant challenge here in the futures. There's just so many different pieces of unrest right now.
You're listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, where you get valuable information you just can't find anywhere else. To thrive in today's trying times, you need the Financial Survival Network, now more than ever. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and get your free newsletter and gift. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.
And welcome. This is Financial Survival Network. I'm your host, Kerry Lutz. And, well, what can you say about the past week in precious metals? New highs for gold, new highs for silver. What's going on with the bond market? Central banks, miners, where are you supposed to go? What's happening with the debt? David Stryzewski is with us now. David, it's great to have you back on. So we're in the midst of a precious metals melt up, so it would appear. Certainly a bull market. We've been waiting for this. I mean, gold's been basically taking the lead. Now we've got $41 silver, and silver will presumably take the handoff from gold. So what is your thinking on all this?
Well, great to be with you, Kerry. A couple things that just kind of occur right now is that if you actually look at the S&P 500 versus just gold in general, you'll see that gold, even over the last couple of years, has outperformed so significantly. It's up about 100% in the last 12. This is a very important thing to be recognizing right now. Why? Because it's priced in U.S. dollars. And so if it takes more individual U.S. dollars to buy the same 1 ounce of gold or silver, then ultimately what that means is that there's actually real inflation that's taking place right now in our fiat currency. And that's really important to understand. Fiat, of course, meaning that it's not backed up by anything specifically, just the good faith in the Treasury and the Federal Reserve. And so what we're watching right now is a rotation away from specifically the United States Treasuries. Now, if you'll remember here, Moody's was the third rating agency that just recently downgraded the United States from AAA to AA. So it was, in 2011 when it started. We had another one with Fitch last year in July, and then we recently had Moody's downgrade. So now the world is ultimately saying the United States Treasury, specifically the 10-year and long-dated treasuries, are not the world's reserve standard any longer. There's something that could be better. And I believe that everyone is recognizing that gold is that answer. And so if you look at what central banks have been doing for the last decade, they've been buying more gold and less treasuries. But very specifically in the last 3 years, they have been buying more than 1,000 tons annually. So I think that we're just at the beginning of this commodity super cycle. And there's a lot of directions that we can kind of go in our time here today in discussing, what is actually going on and where will we be here in the future.
All right. So where will we be? Are we going to lose the dollar as the reserve standard, the reserve currency? Is that happening now? What's your thoughts?
I don't believe that we're going to lose the dollar as the world's reserve currency. Why? Because liquid markets all over the world would tell us that the dollar is going to be sticking around. There's not an alternative to it. What are you going to do? The yen? No way. So what we're looking at right now is just the entire system getting revalued, and we're trying to understand, what's actually important in the 21st century right now. So the way that I'm looking at this is just follow the legislation. So since President Trump got in, we have a completely different world, completely different way that things are going to be patterned. And so it's important for us to understand that, we're looking at even the commodities markets. There are more commodities that are expiring, and then they're taking possession right now. They're getting tons of gold. What's going to happen with the U.S. dollar? Well, I think that you're going to see the Stablecoin Act, the Genius Act that was recently passed, begin to develop into something greater. When you look at states like Texas and Florida who are saying, hey, we're not going to do a central bank digital currency, which is what the Biden administration was saying that they were kind of moving into. They're saying, hey, we will do a gold-backed blockchain-based coin, and some of that got shut down, but it set certain things into motion. This Genius Act, though, made provision for gold to be considered a tier 1 asset held by banks, and I believe that Bitcoin can be a part of that, silver, platinum, palladium, etc., as above ground assets. And what's important to note about that is that you can create a completely different system. Now, I will just share with you, though, I've seen some movies, Oceans 11, 12, and 13. There's some creative ways to steal things. So if you steal, out of that vault, or a military complex shows up and destroys a system somehow, you're going to have your money system broken. So that's why I think that there is actually a third version that is going to kind of be the saving grace for our nation as we kind of look forward here into the future, and that is that we leave it in the ground exactly where God put it. The gold, silver, platinum, palladium that's sitting in Yellowstone National Park, there's no reason to take it out of the ground. We've already decided this is a beautiful park, a place that we want to come and bring our family and our kids. And so what we can do is we can just tokenize those assets in ground and add that to the strategic wealth reserve of our nation. At least this is what I'm trying to pitch and position out here, because that third version of stablecoin is completely safe, lower cost to keep in the ground. You don't have to secure it with, guards and, armed things. It's just safely there, and we can actually know that it's they're in the ground. So the 43101 forums, et cetera, give a lot of that information. So that's where I think money's going, but the U.S. dollar will still remain the world's reserve currency.
Well, I kind of got a little different take than you. I think the strategic Bitcoin reserve, I think the U.S. government is holding way more Bitcoin than the couple 150,000 coins that they say. Maybe they created it. And if what happens if Bitcoin goes up to, say, I don't know, let's say it goes up to $50 million a coin, which isn't that much higher than it is now. What are we talking about? 500 times more? The U.S. government is the largest holder of Bitcoin, and they use that to either issue a stable coin backed by Bitcoin and then use that to pay down the debt. Say, guys, you can have zero interest, or you can have these stable coins and go do what you want with them. Or they just hand out the Bitcoin, pay off the debt, and then take the balance and recapitalize the Social Security system and a couple of others, and then walk away. I mean, I see that as the saving grace here. And it's easier than gold. We're just not going back on a gold standard, It's just
all right. So here's a couple of things to note. So I like where your head's at with this. One, the thing that I really recognize is that if you're an evil dictator or somebody that needs to flee their nation, you're for sure a Bitcoin person, because you can't take that gold and silver with you. I mean, fly it around, or it's heavy, right? So you have the ability to just put it up in the cloud. And so that's a lot of the volume that's been coming in right now. I believe that Bitcoin is a real reserve. I believe that, the only 21 million coins out there, my guess is we're probably able to, only really access 16 million of those in the end, probably 5 million or more. You lose your keys, you lose your crypto. So I think that it is a lot more valuable and rare than we recognize today. And no one is buying groceries with Bitcoin. They keep that stuff. You spend your US dollars that you don't want. Those are easy. You keep the Bitcoin, right? So the strategic wealth reserves are a brilliant idea. I actually have been doing this in metals for a number of years, when just one day God kind of told me to become a bank. And I was like, what do you mean? And so I started purchasing metals with the idea of being able to borrow against it, do mergers and acquisitions, and quickly be able to turn that into cash. And so that's literally what I do as a part of my business practice on a day-to-day basis, is I use my silver specifically because of the ratio of gold to silver on that. But to finish the thought on this, the one thing about Bitcoin is that it's not fast. It doesn't transact quickly, but it is a real reserve. I think that you're going to be doing like big deals and real estate transactions and things like that on the most notable, things like Bitcoin. And so I think you'll be able to stake it, and people will be able to borrow against it and use it as sort of a proxy. And that might be a way to get a dividend off of Bitcoin in the future for those that hold some. But yeah, the U.S. government definitely has a lot of Bitcoin. But what else do we have? Well, we've got a tremendous amount of reserves that are in the the ground right now. And so we need these reserves in order to actually, electrify the world, as an example. So yeah, copper electrifies the world. But if we're talking about semiconductors, if we're talking about data centers, you need silver. You need silver so bad. If you're going to even do military stuff, we've talked about this in the past. You said like a Tomahawk warhead had like a couple hundred ounces of silver in it. That makes sense. Everything has silver in it, including all the gear that we're having conversations on right now that's making sure that this is electronically going through. So if you want to electrify the future, you got to have silver, and at an 87-to-1 ratio to gold, when the mining ratio is actually only 7.5-to-1. This is such a gift. That's why I personally believe that even more so than Bitcoin, this is a big statement for me to make, I believe that even more so than Bitcoin, silver is the most undervalued asset in the world right now. Because if Bitcoin goes to 1 million, which it's designed to, okay, that's taking $100,000 today, and it'll 10x, it'll go to 1 million. Okay. But for silver to just go to a 10x, that brings it to $400. Okay. Oh man, it's never been at $400 for sure. But just understand the gold to silver ratio and the fact that gold is going to be going at least 5,000 here in the short term. And then we're going to be seeing silver just rocket shipping past that. And I think that you're going to probably get down to more like a 30-to-1 ratio. That tends to be, a decent place, but 60 to 65 has been the historical average. We are at 87 right now. So all I'm saying is that there is a gift in silver today to purchase it, and then I'll allocate into gold in the future and other things. But right now I have 100% silver.
Hey, I couldn't agree with you more. I bought most of my silver at $8 to $10 an ounce.
Wow.
So we're right after the great financial collapse. Stocked up on it. I never was negative on it. I've always been ahead, and I was buying junk silver, but real junk, like 40% silver, Kennedy half dollars. And, at the time they were like $2 a piece. Now they're like 6 or 7. And, I did nothing. And the good thing about when you have your money in a hard asset is when things get tough, it's not that easy to just get rid of your gold and silver. You can sell it. It's easy to do, but it's not like getting a cash advance off your MasterCard or whatever. It requires labor. And then there's a built-in resistance. I had a really close friend, and when I was buying back in 2010, 2009, 2010, I got him to buy it. He bought a lot more than me. And then his business went bust. He went through a divorce, and I talked to him like 5 years later, and he said, you saved me because of you. I had that gold. I would have just blown the money had I not had. And I was able to pay off my lawyers, pay off my ex. And that's the beauty. It's kind of a forced savings plan. I love silver. David, like 3 months ago, I was buying it at under spot on eBay.
Wow.
5 to 10% under spot by buying 40% Kennedy half dollars. And I even bought some 90% junk, as we call it. Others call it constitutional. I bought that for 5% below spot when it was $36. And so anybody out there, if you're looking to buy silver at below spot, you can still do it, limited times. Just shoot me an email, KL@Kerry Lutz. Ask for the buying silver below spot. Just say, buy silver in the subject. I'll send you out a report, tells you exactly how to do it and ensures that you won't get ripped off. So silver is it. I mean, we know that for sure. And now even Saudi Arabia is buying silver. We had the U.S. putting shortly will be putting silver on the critical metals list. That's huge. It just shows the value of the shiny metal. They don't make mirrors with silver anymore, but they do make solar panels, and they're even solar panel recycling things. So cryptos, silver, are we getting the great reset here? Is that what you're trying to tell us, David?
I do think that this is a reset in the monetary system. It's been coming for a long time, and I think that it got sped up through COVID and through the deficit spending that we did during that time frame. If you just even look at the M2 money supply there as things were really kicking up, we added 512% to our M2 within a matter of about a year. That is a significant deal. That's why we saw inflation happen. We just got this cash sloshing around the market right now. And so anyway, some of that's burning off. And I think liquidity is getting a lot tighter. And I think that the average consumer is not doing as well. And so, more even to your point, we need to look at, what is actually valuable here in the future. And so I personally think that, you want to harden up your balance sheet. And so, and just like you've just shared here, the constitutional pre-1965 quarters and dimes is literally what I own the vast majority of at this point in time, because it tends to trend up about 15 to 20% higher than just spot when silver goes through a run. And so that's something that I've done, because then I will sell and then ultimately have far more ounces in the future because of that difference there. But I actually like to own mine at the Delaware Depository, and here's the difference between owning it physically in person and having it physically at a depository that's a COMEX level safe place. One, I don't have the counterparty risk of my house burns down or someone steals or whatever, and it's
guns at your door. Right?
Yeah, exactly. So here's the point. I keep it someplace that's super safe, and ultimately I can call them and I can get a wire in the same day, and I'm paying prime plus one, and it's an interest-only loan, just like a home equity line of credit. And so that, for me, is a phenomenal opportunity and way to do it. But let me just note something really quick. My silver portfolio, or my assets, is up about 30% this year. But my actual miners portfolio, where my 401k is, that is specifically up over 60% this year. And so if you want to know the best way to make money, honestly, I think it's probably in the market here with the miners. Whether you're using the majors or the juniors, there's tremendous opportunity. If you're going to start a new silver mine or gold mine, it takes 15, 18 years. So if you've got a junior out there that's got something going on and you're a major player and you can step in because you now have capital markets that'll work with you, man, what an opportunity. So I think that you're going to see probably, the metal miners lead for the next 3 years, 5 years, maybe even 10 years because of their profitability. They can essentially get gold out of the ground for about $2,000. They can profit about $2,000 right now, and they're about double what their expenses are for silver today. And so these are going to be some of the most profitable companies in the world going forward if they just continue on with what is the normal trend right now. But if the price goes up, which it's going to, their numbers get even better yet. And so that's why I'm personally very, very, very bullish on metal miners, U.S.-based, North American-based. The majority of silver, by the way, is mined out of Mexico. And so I think that that's a strategic thing that the administration's even looking at with cartels and other stuff like that. You can't have that disrupted right now. These metals are crucial. They're critical for infrastructure. They're critical for our advancement. They're critical for AI. They're critical for the future, and we can't not have these specific precious metals available.
I couldn't agree with you more. Hey, what's your take on the attack in Venezuela?
I'm sorry, I didn't even catch the attack in Venezuela.
Oh, there was
the drugs.
Yeah, the U.S. interdicted a drug-laden ship off the coast of Venezuela and blew it up, basically, and that's an escalation. No wonder gold and silver going higher. If our own hemisphere is seeing this kind of thing, right? How does this happen?
Well, the cartels have been running things for like the last 5-6 years, and they have become extremely profitable. When we have an open border, when you got fentanyl pouring over, when you got all this stuff, you got people that you're trafficking in, you got people that you're muling in. These are some of the most profitable organizations in the world. And I think the administration recognizes that and the challenge that represents. And so, strategically, that is our neighbor to the south. And we need to have good trade relations. We need to have a good working environment. I just even saw, like a week ago, I forget our ambassador's name who was visiting in Mexico there, but there was like a fight that broke out on camera and everything.
I saw that. Yeah, on the floor. That was crazy.
That was crazy. Who knows what's happening right now? I've been saying it, though, for a little bit, that I think that we'll be literally at war with the cartels by the end of 2025. And so that we're about right there right now. I feel like there's some carrier groups and battleships moving into that area. And so you might see, some of that cleaned up here. And then hopefully, there can be the right law and order and relationships and everything else. But, this whole global thing is this powder keg right now that could cause a significant challenge here in the futures. There's just so many different pieces of unrest right now.
Yeah, it's so true. Instability and changing world landscape. We're still working on reclaiming the Panama Canal. That hasn't happened yet. Hey, one final thing off the topic a bit, but the federal surge in the District of Columbia, what's your take on it?
Unpack that and asking.
Feds going in and basically taking over the D.C. Police Department and the surge of federal law enforcement marching in there and restoring order to the Capitol.
Well, it's interesting. The Capitol Police don't actually have an authority over the top of them. Therefore, they're basically unregulated. This is a part of the reason why on January 6th, there was, not the ability to even identify the officer's name who shot Ashley Babbitt. There's a lot of the deep state, quote unquote, if you will, that would be considered the unelected people that are in D.C. or have proximity to D.C. or power. And then also, there's a lot of disruption that's been going on with conversations about lobbyists and maybe even term limits. I think all these are important conversations. As an American people, that's our job as we the people, is to be able to say, hey, I don't like this idea. I do like that idea. And so help us to try to identify, how to move forward here in the best way in order to represent us. I feel like there is an opportunity right now in this next election cycle to start talking about constitutional values again and start leading from the place of strength, start leading from the place that makes America different and better and greater. And so that's going to come with, having law and order and not the opposite. That's going to come with, not specifically, targeting your adversaries, but everyone should be treated equally under the law. Just because someone has a different opinion than you, that we were founded on the principle that we should be able to debate ideas. And then it comes to a vote, and then ultimately the people decide. And, the free and fair election ideas is something that is, not necessarily, I don't know. We still send men and women to die for this nation, and there's at least some questions on how some of this stuff has gone. And so I think that you're going to need to see change at that higher level in order for it to trickle down to Main Street. But I just want to remind everyday families this. Just because you got something going on in D.C., you need to do things in your local community. We need to be really particular right now about, the jurisdictions that are ours. Just because someone gets into the White House or we get new administrations in different ways doesn't necessarily mean that the world just changes in the best way. We've got to fight for some of the right things here. And so this is where it's important for people to have a voice, to have the ability to stand up, to be able to communicate what your positions are. And ultimately, my hope is that we become a better America. We become that resilient nation that has led, innovated, gone through wars, and ultimately people come together because we are the United States of America, not the divided states of America, although maybe the latter is what we kind of feel like a little bit more so today.
Hey, we really do have the power here, but that's the whole system. It's designed. They don't really care left, right, center. It's just divide and conquer, and they've done a wonderful job of it so far. I couldn't agree with you more about what you're talking about here with the way in which, this is shaken out. And people's right to safety in their own homes and their own communities is a fundamental right that is the biggest responsibility of government, particularly the president, to protect us from enemies within and without. And we certainly don't need to be bringing in any more enemies from without. We got enough of them during the last administration. And now it's clean up in aisle 7, and Trump is bringing the mops, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, a lot of the people are out there like, oh, he's just deporting everybody. actually, there's a lot of people that have come in that have been kind of bad guys or have histories or places that we suspect that they trained on that stuff in Afghanistan that we left behind when Biden pulled out. And they're military age men, most of them, and many of these. And so you've got to go and break those things up. You've got to go in and take out the worst of the worst bad guys for sure. You've got to allow the immune system of the body to be able to call balls and strikes, and then the T cells to be able to come in and enforce. And, this is just a very interesting moment that we find ourselves in. I just believe that right now, real leadership can step in, real conversations can step in. And, then my hope is that real leadership and real conversations can come in and that we can ultimately be more united as opposed to divided because we can see each other as brothers and sisters once again. We can see ourselves as we the people and not just red or blue or something in between. But unfortunately, we've become so politically divisive, and that's where they want us. They want us to say that politically.
They want us to hate each other. Hey, so just one final thing is that having a crime-ridden community is a political decision. That's what this is proving. And having a safe community just requires political will and the desire to act. We saw it with Giuliani. He wrote the blueprint for what's happening now in D.C. The broken windows theory, all of that. Thank you, Rudy Giuliani. We pray that you're okay. You got into a bad car accident the other day, seriously injured, spinal injury. Pray that he's okay. David, just tell us, where do we find you? How do we connect with you on the web?
Well, most people know me as a financial advisor. My company is called Sound Planning Group, myspg.com. Pretty awesome. We just got named one of the fastest growing companies again in America, according to Inc. magazine, top 5,000 and the top 500 workplaces. So be successful. That's awesome. Be good people, probably more important. But www.myspg.com. We've got people that call in all the time. They check us out, check out the Google reviews, all the wonderful things that are going on, and they want to learn more. I've got classes that are happening here throughout the year. We're teaching about Medicare, teaching about Social Security and taxes. By the way, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act 2.0 happened this year, and it's created the single greatest opportunity in any of our adult lifetimes to reduce or eliminate taxes on our retirement assets. So we're teaching people how to coordinate their distribution strategy through tax diversification, not just asset diversification, which is really what we've been talking about here today. Adding asset diversification and better strategies, really important. Tax diversification is going to help you to keep more, forfeit less, and ultimately, enjoy the retirement that we believe that you deserve. So that's a little bit about us, and so much more on the site. And if folks want to reach out.
All right. And the links in the show notes to this interview, financialsurvivalnetwork.com. We're now just gone strictly to Substack. I'm no longer paying for the overhead of maintaining a website. That websites are kind of yesterday's technology. They've been around almost 30 years now. Enough is enough. And Substack, it's a beautiful thing. Manages your mailing list. I feel like I'm doing an ad for them. But in any event, just get over to financialsurvivalnetwork.com, points over to our Substack. David, always a pleasure. We'll definitely talk to you again soon. Be well.
Hey, appreciate you, Kerry. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, your solution to today's trying times. For the latest, go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.